All right, so we're going Weiter here in Sefer Yeshua. We're here discussing Pasuk Beis. So we started a little bit last week, but I just want to touch on a few more Nakudas that we didn't get a chance to discuss yet. So the Pasuk starts off, Moshe Avdi Meis. Hashem tells Yeshua that Moshe, my servant, died. V'ata, and now kum avar Yarden Azeh, go and cross over the Yarden. Ata, you v'chol am Azeh, you and the entire nation. Ela orat asher noichi noisin lahem lebnei Israel. To the land that I'm going to give you, that I said that I'm going to give to Bnei Yisrael. So Rashi says something very puzzling over here. Rashi says, Moshe Avdi Meis, Ilu Hayakayam, if Moshe would have been alive, Bay Hayisi Chafetz. I would have chose Moshe to be the one to take them to Eretz Yisrael. L'chera Pashat, because like we spoke the last 2 weeks, that the whole concept of why Moshe is not going into Eretz Yisrael, and why the Torah doesn't end off with Klal Yisrael going into Eretz Yisrael, is because of the Chet. Various chatam. So the Klal Yisrael seems like the time on them was al Chet Egel, and we know the Chet Meraglim caused them issues, and Moshe himself didn't go because of Memiriva. But Rabbi Seinu Darshu, and the Gemara says in Tmura, al shleishes halachim halachas shenshtachu b'mei evle shel Moshe, that there were 3,000 halachas that were forgotten in the days of the Avelos of Moshe. By Yeshua v'Shoal, so Yeshua asked to try to remember them. He asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Moshe Avdi Meis. But Torah al Shmei Nikris. Moshe died, and the Torah is Nikris al Shmei Shel Moshe Rabbeinu. Right. So Lo Malachi Efsher. I can't tell you these halachas. Save it Torah B'Melchama. Go fight the wars of Eretz Yisrael. I mean, what's the kasha? What's the Torah? There's a lot of Torah here. We're not going to get too involved in right now. But the basic concept is, like we spoke, that Moshe, once Moshe got caught up in the head, so to speak, we knew he couldn't come into Eretz Yisrael. So Al Karchach Yeshua had to do it. But the Torah Al Shmei Nikris was sort of like we spoke the other week, that the pshat is that a navi is not allowed to be mechadish anything, right? Now there's a big kasha because the psukim state a navi is not allowed to be mechadish any mitzvahs after the Torah. Now the Gemara says in the psukim in Chumash say that Moshe appointed Yeshua b'chayav to be a Magachir, to lead Klal Yisrael. So then what's this? Klal Yisrael knew about him already. So what's this pasuk coming to say, oh, now Yeshua, you're going to take over? What do you mean you're going to take over? He was running the show for the last 5 years. What are you talking about now he's going to run the show? So the Ralbag explains, very interesting. He says, Alts Masiris HaTorah, Alts giving over, and Alts Manig, Alts leading Klal Yisrael, and even Alts being the general for Klal Yisrael. He was there. He was the man. He was the person to do it. But in Nevuah, he didn't get the Nevuah till La'achar P'tiras Shel Moshe. It was some Achiyad of Allah, maybe some level of Ruach HaKodesh, but the Madreg of Nevuah for Yeshua, being Yeshua who he was, Bishleimus, wasn't going to be until after Moshe's P'tira. Like the Gemara says in Kedushin, that the Lo Yishakach Shim Sheshel Zeh Ad Shezarcha Shim Sheshel Zeh, like we had in the parasha. Right, Sarah passes away, that Rivka is born. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't allow that. As soon as one tzaddik goes down, another tzaddik comes up. I don't think it necessarily means that the tzaddik has to be born, physically born, but it means that in some mahalach there's a hischachus of a new tzaddik that's going to be taking over. Fine. So, what's this business that the pasuk says again? Moshe Avdi Meis. The first pasuk said, "Vayhi Acher Moshe Aved Hashem." The sefer starts off after the p'tir of Moshe Rabbeinu. So we said that already. Why is the pasuk saying again Moshe Avdi Meis? So the Avostar of Nasan has a big arichas about this. We're just going to read a couple of lines of it. It says that when Aaron HaKohen was nifter, so Moshe very much liked the way that he left this world. So he said he wanted to die the same way Aaron died. But Aaron. The Malachim were taking care of him. The Malachim were giving him a hesped. He didn't speak this out to anybody. Nobody heard this conversation. It was Moshe Rabbeinu thinking in his mind. Hashem heard his whisperings. The pasuk says that you're going to die just like Aaron died on Har Har. Okay. Go bring me Moshe's neshama. Halach Malach Hamavis V'amar Lefanim. So the Malach Hamavis goes to Moshe. He couldn't tell him anything. Amalei Moshe, Tein Li Nishmascha. He says, give me your neshama. Moshe tells him, B'makom Shani Yoshev, Ein Neisen L'char Shos Lamed. V'ata Marta Tein Li Nishmascha. Gar by Vaytei Ben Azifa. He chased Malach Hamavis away. He says, I'm not giving in to you. Goodbye. Until Akash Baruch Hu said to Moshe, Moshe, Dayecha, Ha'olam Hazeh, Shrei Ha'olam Haba, Shamalach Misheshes Yimei Bereishis. Says, I have a mokum for you in Shemayim, Misheshes Yimei Bereishis, Shenemar V'yomer Hashem, Hine mokum iti v'nitzavta al Torah. I have a place for you in Shemayim. You could go. It's time for you to go to that place. Not Akash Baruch Hu Nishmos Shel Moshe v'gon to Tachas Kisei HaKavod. The Akash Baruch Hu took Moshe's neshama and put it in the place Tachas Kisei HaKavod, and all the other tzaddikim are over there also. And then the medrash over here goes on to talk about different things that happen to the neshamas of tzaddikim, different things that happen to the neshamas of rishonim. But then the medrash goes weiter. Shuv Amalei Akash Baruch Hu l'malach hamavas. Hashem said to the malach hamavas again, Leich v'havi li nishmas shel Moshe, halach l'mkaimai bikshev le'matzeh. He sends him again to go find the neshama of Moshe. So Kasha is what do you want with this? What was the game? But it's going to be mavur. So he says, I don't know where he is. Halach etel yam hagadol. Amalei Moshe balakan. He says, did Moshe come here? Amalei miyayim she'avri Yisrael b'seichi. Once Klal Yisrael crossed the Yam Suf, shuv le'risav. I haven't seen Moshe since the Yam Suf. He never came back to visit me. Halach etel har mugvais. He went to the mountains. Amalei Moshe balakan. Moshe was here. Amar Ulai. They said to him, Yom she'kibul Yisrael as a Torah. From the day that Klal Yisrael was makabel the Torah bar Sinai, shuv le'rinu. We never saw him again. Halach etel shel v'avadan. He went to Gehenna. Amalei Moshe balakan. Did Moshe come here? Amalei Shmei Shemanu. We heard about him. We heard his name, but I say Larina. We never saw him. Halach etel malach yasharis. He goes to the malachim. Amalei Moshe balakan. Moshe came by over here. Amalei Elikim even darker who yadas b'kaimai. Only Akash Baruch Hu knows where he is. Elikim gonzei l'chayim abba. Hashem is trying to show the malach hamavas that you can't find him. You can't track him down. He says Moshe is a madrega that's above Misa. Moshe is a madrega that's above the malach hamavas, above Gehenna, above any part of this world. Meaning the Hainu, everything. What was the plan over here? What was this shackle of over here? The shackle of over here is like this. Moshe lived in the physical world. Now Moshe is not in this world anymore. When he was in this world, you could point your finger. Oh, Moshe went here. Moshe went there. Moshe was involved in this. Moshe was involved in that. Now Moshe is not here anymore. You can't put your finger on it. You can't find him bichlal. Elikim haven darka v'yadas mekayim elikim gonzei l'chayim above ein kol bria yadas, and no creature knows. Nobody knows. Shenamar v'chachma be'ayin timotei. The chachma referring to Moshe Rabbeinu. You won't find it anywhere. Ve'ezem mekayim bina. Where is the makom of bina? L'yada enosh erka. A man doesn't know its worth. V'leitimtzav eretz hachayim. You're not going to know. You're not going to find it in the land of life. Tahoim Amar Loi Bihi. Tahoim says it's not by me. V'yam Amar Eini Madi. The sea says it's not by me. Avadan u'maves Amar Bozneinu Shemanu Shema. The Avadan and Maves, Gehenna and the Malach Maves both say that we heard about him, but we can't put our finger to him because Moshe Rabbeinu is at this point after he left this world. So when he was in this world, it was hard enough to put your finger on him. Now that he's not in this world anymore, so Kol Shekan Kavol Charmid, you can't put your finger on him, as we spoke last week. Yeshua was sitting and he was mitzvah on Moshe Rabbeinu that he didn't know where he was. Until Akash Baruch Hu told him, Yeshua lama mitzvah. Why are you being mitzvah on Moshe? Moshe avdi meis. Moshe died. Meaning that, however you want to understand that, but Moshe is not. He's no more. You're trying to. His kaiches are still here. His Yerushas are still here. His Torah is still here. His whole mahalach of Moshe Rabbeinu that was created still exists, but not in the tzura of Moshe Rabbeinu living over here anymore. He's not here anymore. Okay. So then that's Moshe Avdi Meis. That's the pshat and why. Because Akash Baruch Hu had to tell Yeshua that you're not going to find him anymore. You think that maybe he was shaykh to this. You think maybe he was shaykh to that. He was kailal everything. He was kailal gans klal Yisrael. He was kailal gans Bria and whatever it is, and he's not here anymore. At one point he was on Har Sinai. At one point he was here. But v'afal pikein, on top of all this, he still didn't get into Eretz Yisrael. And the state, we'll see later. We'll talk about it a little later if we have the time for it. That the pshat is that Moshe Rabbeinu says, "I want to go into Eretz Yisrael even if I could be like an eved. I want to go into Eretz Yisrael even if I could be the lowest person. I want to go into Eretz Yisrael like an animal. I want to go into Eretz Yisrael like a fruit." He so badly wanted Eretz Yisrael. He said, "I just want to be in Eretz Yisrael. It doesn't matter, how. He just wanted it to be there." Okay. The Malbim says something very interesting at the end of the pasuk. So the pasuk says, "Va'ata kum avor Hiyrden hazeh, ata you v'chol ha'am hazeh," and the entire nation. It's quite interesting. Chazal state that Derech Klal is referring to the Erev Rav. So some talk learned that this was including all the other people, but it's not. It's not the Pashtus. The Pashtus is because now that Yeshua is the new leader, so he took over the Am. The Am changed. It's a different. There was a. It wasn't the same anymore. They came to Eretz Yisrael. State, but I don't think that's what the pasuk means over here. What the pasuk means over here is that there's a new leader. So Memela, there's a new Am. Because Ein Melech B'lei Am. Yeshua Grada had a din of a Melech, as stated in Rambam, right? So Atav V'chol Amaz El Haaretz Asher Anochi Neisin Lehem Lebnei Yisrael. The Malbim says that you're going to be the leader of Klal Yisrael in every sense of the word, and you're going to lead them in the Melchamas of conquering Eretz Yisrael. State that if Moshe would have came into Eretz Yisrael, there wouldn't have been any Melchamas. Would have came into Eretz Yisrael, there'd be no more Goyim, we would have just moved in. It wouldn't have taken 7 years of fighting, 7 years of Chiluk Haaretz. You would have just came, you would have settled, there'd be no more Goyim, like that. That was the Madreg of Moshe. And really, that's what Rashi said before. Ilu Haya Kayam, Bahi Yisi Chavetz. So really, that's how you're supposed to go into Eretz Yisrael. Right? Ad Yavram Hashem, Ad Yavram Zukanisa. Right? What's the pshat in the two things? Because it says, Bimei Ezra, they wanted to go in like they went in Bimei Yeshua ben Nun. Ela Shagar Machet. Bimei Yeshua ben Nun, they were fascinating Nisim, how they were able to conquer the Milchamas. But if Moshe Rabbeinu would have went in, it would have been on a Madreg even greater than the Madreg of Yeshua. And they would have went in, and the Goyim would have just ran out. They would have just parked themselves in their houses and goodbye. Gandik, it would have taken a day. It would have happened in one day. That's what would have happened if Moshe would have came in. And really, that's the mahalach that it should have been. Meaning, even though the Gemara says, Ad Yavram Hashem, that, Kilu Ezra was the Madrega lower than Yeshua. The Hainu that there were Nisim when Yeshua went in. And Ezra had to. How long did it take for Ezra didn't conquer. It was a whole different. Ezra schlepped people back, and not everybody wanted to go, and that was the Asik. That was the Asik Mitzaratzmai. And the Gemara says that he didn't have the Yechilas to go in and make wars like Yeshua did. I mean, the Gemara Kedushin talks about how the people didn't want to go back with him. Whatever it was, they got comfortable in the Galus, or they didn't want to go back, or they but Yeshua cursed the people. Ezra cursed the people that they're not going to be matzliach if they don't go back to Eretz Yisrael. And they say that there's certain nations that exist, Adayam Azad, that the Taka never, that it was the places where these Yidden lived, and they're Taka never matzliach, Adayam Azad. They're very poor, backwards, third world countries, and it's because the Yidden there never decided to go back to Eretz Yisrael. But the Malbim says like this. The Malbim says that even though you're going to be the general and you're going to be fighting the wars, the Derech Klal, the natural way of war is that the general, when he finishes the war, he makes himself a plaza, puts up a big statue of himself. He's celebrating his nitzachin, celebrating that he won the war. The pasuk is saying over here, "Ve'ata kum avor Hiyrden hazeh, ata v'chol ha'am hazeh, el haaretz asher anochi neisin lehem lebnei Yisrael." So that you have no. I'll read it inside just to bring out the point. He says like this: Hagam she'ata tia sar hatzava. Even though that you're going to be the general, v'derech kol kovshei harotzos, and the way of all the fighters and conquerors, eretz hanechbesh es tikra al shem asar hatzava, that the land is called al shem the warrior or the general, like a melech or the king hakovesh that conquers it, v'loi tia lechelek v'latzos bakir tzaynoi. And it will belong to him, and he could do with it whatever he wants. This will not be the case. Who's Lahem? Who we giving Eretz Yisrael to? Livnei Yisrael. To Klal Yisrael. Fine. It's just very interesting, because the Gemara says in Bava Basra that Asad Lava, we're going to go back to Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is going to be divided up into 13 chalokim. And the 13th chelik is going to go to the Melech HaMashiach. And it's going to be Nikra al Shem. It sounds, so to speak, that it's going to be Nikra al Shem that the Melech HaMashiach is taking over.
Where's the 13th chelik?
It doesn't say where it is, but the Pashtus is that we know that there's Zayinumis. That the Iker Milchama and the Kibush that Klal Yisrael has to do when they come to Yisrael is connected to Zayinumis. But then there's the Keni and the Knizi and the Kadmoni, that's really Amoin, Keneged Amoin, Moav, and Edom, and then once you get rid of those guys, which is L'chaira, in a much bigger area than the actual geographical Eretz Yisrael of even then. And they'll take over. They'll be Menatzeach them. They'll take over that area, and they'll go back to. And they'll be Marchev Eretz Yisrael, which is. That was the Cheluk of like. Yeah, sure. So even though Eretz Yisrael is Mischalekes L'Shvatim and Shaykh to Gans Klal Yisrael, Lo says Labai, when there's going to be a Gula Shleima, there's going to be a Cheluk for Melech HaMashiach. And like we said before, that if Moshe would have went into Eretz Yisrael, he would have knocked everybody out in a day, and then they would have settled, and that would have been the Tikkun HaSholem. So that 13th Cheluk would have went to Moshe. But that's not what happened. And, we have to wait till Mashiach comes to figure out what this is all about. But the question is, Peter Pashtus, Yeshua is right to get a reward for what he's doing. Why is it that he can't? Why is it that the Malbim is saying that he can't take a Cheluk from what he did? He deserves it. He's fighting for Klal Yisrael. He's fighting for Eretz Yisrael. He's helping everybody get their land in Eretz Yisrael. We say, "Oh, you sure you can't get anything? You can't get anything from Eretz Yisrael. There's no mile of you over anybody else." I mean, if there is a Cheluk, the 13th Cheluk that should go to him, but for some reason he didn't have to do something lacking in the shleimus of going into Eretz Yisrael. With Yeshua, that less than it would have been Bimei Moshe, that l'chayra he should have gotten it. So l'chayra we can say like this. We know the Gemara says in Bava Basra that Pnei Moshe Pnei Chama Pnei Yeshua Pnei Levono, and l'chayra it's pashut like this, that when when the Chama is the one that gives off the main light, and the moon, the Levana reflects that light. We're saying over here that Yeshua, last week we explained that Yeshua was the quintessential Talmud of Moshe Rabbeinu. The dogma of a Talmud to a Rebbe, we always look at how Yeshua was a Talmud of Moshe. A complete bittul, a complete hisbatlus to Moshe and his Torah. So the pshat is like this, that the Shlosh state, B'Shem the Shlosh, they bring that the Eretz Canaan is Miloshan Hachna. There's a certain Hachna that you have to have in order to come into Eretz Yisrael. And the Yidden were in the Midbar, they were not Moav, and they're coming into Eretz Yisrael. And they may not have that Hachna. L'mashal, it says by the Meraglim that they were afraid to come into Eretz Yisrael. They told them all kinds of not good things about Eretz Yisrael. They didn't mean it in the sense that Eretz Yisrael is a bad place. They just knew that they were going to lose their madreg of being the Nesiim, because you can't be a Nasi in Eretz Yisrael. Everyone has to be Machniya. Everyone has to be Machniya themselves completely in order for them to come to Eretz Yisrael. I think the Shasem has a Zamen line. But Al Kapanim steht in Gemara Yuma, Lechem Abirim Ochal Ish, that everyone got the mon that fell for them, but then there was one person who the mon fell for, Keneged Lechem Abirim Ochal Ish, that Yeshua Shiard Lemon Keneged Kol Yisrael. And the Medrash says, Ha'isha Tamamid Aleyam, meaning when Moshe Rabbeinu is appointing Yeshua to be the leader of Klal Yisrael, Yesh Baruach Shal Shishim Riboy, that this person that you're being Mamid Aleyam, Yesh Baruach Shal Shishim Riboy, is able to be Hoylech Keneged Ruach Shal Kol Echad V'Echad, that he's Sheyehei Mesiach L'Chol Echad V'Echad L'Fi Daitoi. And the Medrash also says, Isha Sharuach Boy Sheyochel Halach Keneged Ruach Shal Kol Echad V'Echad. Dahainu, that Yeshua had an Neshama Klalis that he was able to relate to every single Yid no matter what. And L'Chayru Kafidus Malbim, we could say that the reason why Yeshua couldn't take Chelik in Eretz Yisrael for himself, even though he was the general, and Al Pi, the regular Dinei Kibush Melchama, he had a right to. It could be he had a right to take it, but at the same time he had to remember, or he didn't have to remember. Ibn Metzias was this way. Ibn Mahusay was this way. That he didn't. That he was so Ibn to Klal Yisrael and Ibn to Eretz Yisrael that it was that he was Kilu Yarad Lemon connected Klal Yisrael, that he was able to be Mahalach connected Ruach Shal Kol Echad V'Echad, and he was Hoylech connected Kol Echad V'Echad Kaiman Beretz Yisrael. He was probably the last person to get settled in his place after the Kibush and the Mulchama. not because Yosef and his Shevet was the last one, but because he had to ensure that everybody else was going to get their place. And once they had their place, then he was only able to settle down after that. The same way the Gemara says, the same way the Pasuk says, Zichru Torah as Moshe Avdi, that the Torah b'mitzius is Keneged is Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? The Gemara says in Baba Kama, the Kalamayser Atzmel Divrei Torah Ein Omed Dvar Torah Mishmai. A person who gives his life for Torah, we don't say over Torah B'Shmai. L'char is a kasha. Why do you mean Ein Omed Dvar Torah Mishmai? That should be the spitz person who you say Divrei Torah from. But the Chedusharim is masber that the pshat is that this person who gave his life for Torah, it's not pshat is him and the Torah. Him and the Torah become one. So Yeshua can't take a chelik. Oh, I'm the general of Klal Yisrael, and give me this and that and the other. Yeshua is Gans Klal Yisrael. Yeshua owns the Gans Klal Yisrael's Eretz Yisrael. It doesn't own it. He is part of it. He doesn't need to own it. He has been mitzias that which is the hashlama, so to speak, of Moshe Rabbeinu not being able to get that chelik v'yisdarv to sein in Eretz Yisrael. The same way he ate Mon Keneged Kol Yisrael, he had Eretz Yisrael Keneged Kol Yisrael. That's and really the Alshich says this also. The Alshich says that Ata v'chol amazeh Ata l'tzarechod v'Yisrael l'tzarechod kishokol Ata kekulam. That's what the Alshich says. So there's already a mahalach over here. I'll just say one more quick thought that it says Va'ata kum avar Yarden hazeh. They're sitting by the Yarden. They're sitting here for the last however many years since they're sitting in Abbas Mayav. They're right by the Yarden. So what's the pshat? So there's a Gemara in Eila Metzias. The Gemara says that the Gemara is talking about the sugi of Yish L'Lamidas. So the Gemara brings Toshima, a ganav shenat al mizev v'nosan lozeh, a ganav that takes for one person and gives it to someone else. V'chein a gazlan shenat al mizev v'nosan lozeh. So to a gazlan that takes from someone and gives it to someone else. V'chein yarden shenat al mizev v'nosan lozeh, ma shenat al notal ma shenosan nosan. The same would be true if the yarden would take from somebody and give it to someone else. What he takes is taken, and what he gives is given. So Rashi says, "Sheshotaf hayarden koirav ve'etzav," and the yarden came and swept away his beams and his wood. And the same would be true if it would be any other river. The Tan of this brisa, he was punked sitting by the yarden when he was learning this halacha. So then he's talking about what was in front of him. Many Rishonim, the Raj, but the Ran Shit Mekubet says derive it. Everybody says not like Rashi. And they say the pshat is like this. I'll just read the lashon of the Rashba. Yerushalmi Preshulin Kedushas Haaretz. Yerushalmi understands this to mean we're talking about Kedushas Eretz Yisrael. Shayarden Hayamapsek Ben Eretz Yisrael Eretz Amim. The divider between the Kedushas Eretz Yisrael and Eretz Amim was the Yarden. The Echad Ben Akbulay to a Yarden Kedechsev Yarden Akbul. The Psukim later in Yeshua say that the Yarden was one of the Gvulim of Eretz Yisrael. Mishum Hachi Komar Hacha Shilu Not Al Yarden Eretz Amim the Hircha B'Gvul Haaretz. The Hainu it's talking about in the Harchavas Gvulei Akdusha of Eretz Yisrael that if the Yarden moved and the Yarden spread, so the Yarden is the Gvul, then it extends Eretz Yisrael till where the Yarden is, because the Yarden is part of the boundary of Eretz Yisrael. But if it gets Nimshach on the other side, so then it's an extension of the Eretz Amim. Shakosov Tolo Gvul Haaretz b'Yarden Kedechsev Yarden Ugvul v'Hashta Yarden Denokadafka. The Rashi ends by saying that this Yarden we're talking about Yarden Afka. It's Yerushalmi and Chala. It's Yerushalmi and Chala. It's very negei halacha l'maisa. Is this piece of land part of Eretz Yisrael? Does it have a din of Yarden legabe? What? Really, there's a big question which we have to discuss a different time to give a whole shir to try to understand. Legabe which halachas does Eva Yarden have to? Legabe which it doesn't. It's very not pashut. Because could you get the Omer from Eva Yarden? Pashtus not. There's some hold that it's big machlekes. And most of the things are big machlekes, which is very gishmak, which we'll get to Mitzvah Shem. And it's just interesting that Hazeh is gematria taif. So kum avar Yarden Hazeh. That I'm saying we know that was state in Chumash Toiva Oretz Ma'id Ma'id, which saying sounds like it's even better, and that's just one more aura, and
next case,
we have 3 more minutes, so we'll say one more even quicker word. The Gemara Sanhedrin says that when a tzaddik is nifter min ha'olam, ra ba la'olam. The bad things happen in the world. Shenamar tzaddik ovad ve'inish som alev. When a tzaddik dies, the tzaddik gets lost. People don't take it to heart. Anshe chesed nesafim bein meivin ki mipnei ro nesaf tzaddik. That the people don't realize the godless of the tzaddik, and they don't realize that because of their averis that they did to nesaf tzaddik, the tzaddik gets taken away. So state in Medrash, ein va'ata l'tshuva shenem avat Yisrael ma Hashem lekech Hashem yimachkim l'yira. That va'ata means tshuva. Va'ata kum avares hayarden. You should get up now and cross over the Yarden. So he's trying to be mechazik them to do tshuva. Tshuva, any kind of xeris rights that are going to happen because Moshe is not around anymore. With tshuva, with va'ata, you could be misagana. Now, l'chayra, there's welcome to think like this. That this is a brand new parsha. This is a brand new parsha that's happening to Klal Yisrael, and whenever you have a new opportunity, lepesach hatas rebbe. Tzahar tries to get in there to try to knock you down, to try to take it away from you. And Reb Tzaddik in the beginning of Tzidkas Tzaddik says that the racist knisas adam lavayis Hashem has to be b'chipotem because otherwise you could lose your chance, you could lose the opportunity. So the Gemara Ksuba says a ma'aseh. The Gemara Ksuba says a ma'aseh that Reb Zera is going to Eretz Yisrael. And he couldn't find a boat to go over the river. He's holding on to the wires that ran across the river. He was holding on to the wires to get across to the other side. And Amalei Tzduki, so Tzduki said to him, I'm a pziza. You're a quick-thinking nation. The kadmisu pumaychulu udnaychu. Same like the Gemara says in Shabbos by Rava. That he says that you're quick-thinking people. You do things quickly. You don't think about what you do. The kadmisu pumaychulu udnaychu akadi pzizu saychu kaimisu. You're still holding on to your pzizus. You still don't think and you still don't know what you're doing. Amalei. So Reb Zera said back to him, Duchtu the Moshe v'Aaron loizochulo anomi yemar dezechina. He says a place that Moshe and Aaron weren't zeicha to go into. Who says I'm going to be zeicha to? So I have to do whatever I can to push myself, any kind of hechatim to get in there. So the kavanah Reb Zera was like this: if I'm going to wait one more second, could be chas v'shalom something's going to happen. I'm not going to be able to go into Eretz Yisrael. We see that there's a lot of manias when it comes to going to Eretz Yisrael. So I want to do whatever I can to make sure that there's no manias. If I have to hold on to wires and swing across the river, then that's what I have to do. And that's the pshat in Va'ata and Kum. Va'ata means tshuva, meaning it's a chavarayin when you have the service, chavarayin the service when you have it. And Kum, the Radak says the lashon is rizus. What do you mean, get up? They're sitting here for 38 years in Evar Yarden. What do you mean it's rizus? They're sitting here, they're comfortable, they don't want to go anywhere, right? But Va'ata Kum, now that you have the opportunity to go to Eretz Yisrael, you have to go with rizus because if you don't, the pesach hatas rebbe, you can get fachapt. And you might lose your opportunity, and that's how Klal Yisrael goes into Eretz Yisrael mitazam in Osiris, mitazam in Jesus, and we should talk about Zeicha to get into Eretz Yisrael with Karav mitazam in Osiris and Jesus. Ad kan.